I really hate this job. I'm overworked and underpaid.
Don't forget, we have no clear strategy, and we don't have the resources to do our job.
Gary! Why does line number 342 of your TPS report have a missing period?
Because I made a mistake and I fixed it in the updated report I sent after the one you're holding?
This is unacceptable. How can you ensure this will never happen, ever again?
I can, try to,
Going forward, you should take ownership and think outside the box.
Let's talk about this offline. Value added. Diversity. Reach out. Low-hanging fruit. Circle back. Thought leadership. Proactive. At the end of the day, onboarding. Industry. Going forward. Make it happen. Paradigm. Synergy. Transparency.
Deliverables. Gary, is that clear?
Yes, Mr. Bossman. Understood.
Cindy, here's more work. Please complete this faster than your last work.
Sure, Mr. Bossman. I'll get right on that.
Work.
Too bad we have to do this for at least another 30 years.
Do we, Gary? Do we really?
What do you mean, Cindy?
Oh, I have an idea. Let's get out of here.
Wait, what? Okay, yeah, let's go. Wow.
Whoa, what is this place?
Welcome to the FIRE community.
Fire?
No, my friend, not that kind of fire. The FIRE movement is an acronym for financial independence. Retire early.
Oh, here we go. Acronyms. Ugh, we might as well go back to work if we want acronyms.
May I inquire what led you here?
We hate our jobs.
We don't make enough money.
I don't have enough time to spend with my family.
I have passions I'd rather engage in besides work.
Well, now, it does sound like you found the right place.
Who are all these people inside your cave?
Oh, those are FIRE bloggers. They've all figured out the secret, how to become financially independent, and have all retired early. Instead of working in cubicle farms, on soul-crushing menial labor, they now spend their days blogging about how they got out of the rat race.
So then they're not really retired?
Well,
Are they even financially independent?
yes, they certainly have achieved financial independence. The retire early part typically captures attention, but FIRE followers focus more on financial independence with the goal of building up enough in assets to pursue the kind of life they want as early as they can.
Yeah, okay. So is this possible for us, or did they just get lucky or something?
It is really quite simple to achieve, but it requires you to be more responsible with your money and to focus on saving and investing. It also helps when your income increases through events such as raises, promotions, getting a new job, or maybe even doing some additional side work. As long as you don't increase your expenses during each of these events.
I have no idea how to invest money. I bought stocks once based on a hot tip, and I lost all my money.
How am I supposed to save money when I spend it all?
If you can manage to live on a much smaller percentage of your income and invest the rest, you can be freed from the obligation to work for money for the rest of your life.
I don't
get it.
You must live below your means and invest your savings.
I don't get it.
Spend less than you make.
I don't get it.
Live below your means. Then invest the rest.
How do we do all that?
IRA 4% rule, Trinity Steady Roth conversion ladder, Dow Jones S&P 500 mutual fund, stock exchange compounding
interest net worth asset allocation, capital gains tax loss harvesting.
Can you explain it to me like I'm 5?
We don't really do that here in the FIRE community. We like to use words and phrases that no one besides us can understand. Legend has it that a man named Rob spent quite a bit of time here in our community amassing our knowledge. It is he who does what you speak of.
Can he explain it like I'm 5?
Yes, that is exactly what he does.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Are you Rob?
Rob William here.
Can you explain how to achieve financial independence like I'm 5 years old, please?
You're about to learn everything you need to know to achieve financial independence, and I'll make it easy for you to understand. In the next few minutes, you'll learn what exactly is financial independence. How long will it realistically take to achieve financial independence? How to save money, how to earn more money, all about emergency funds, how to invest your money, and how to take action right now. What exactly is financial independence? Financial independence, or financial freedom, is simply when your investments pay more than your expenses. At that point, you're free from having to work for a living. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to sit around all day watching TV or playing video games. It could mean spending more time with your family, engaging in passion projects, or volunteering for causes that interest you. Maybe you can start a business you're passionate about. Maybe you don't want to start a business and you might not even want to retire. Maybe you want to find a job that fulfills you, provides you with a better work-life balance, or offers a flexible schedule. All these things and more are possible when your financial house is in order and you've achieved financial independence. So how long will it take to become financially independent? Well, that's entirely dependent on you. I'll explain the math and some powerful concepts, but it's up to you to take action, and your actions will determine the time frame. First, you should understand that if you're saving and investing nothing at all, in other words, if you spend all the money you make, then you can never be financially independent and you can never retire, ever, unless you can figure out how to live off Social Security, if that even exists when you retire. Now your focus should be on your savings rate and how you can increase it. Let's take a look how many years it would take you to become financially independent or retired based on various savings rates using a 4% safe withdrawal rate starting from a net worth of 0. Whoa, Rob, you're crazy, man. There is no way. I know, but before you start zoning out, take a really good look at the chart and look at how reducing some of your expenses can cut years right off. The most important thing to understand here is that cutting your spending rate, also known as your living expenses, is more powerful than increasing your income. Increasing your income would be nice and it would definitely help, but every permanent drop in your spending has 2 results. 1, it increases the surplus money you have left over to save and invest every month. 2, it permanently decreases the amount you'll need every month for the rest of your life. Think about it. If you can live off less money, then you have more to save and invest, and you'll need less of a nest egg in total. So, if you want to be financially free in 10 years, or even 5 years, the math is right there, literally staring you in the face. Some of you right now are probably thinking, well, I guess I'll always be broke then, and you know what? If you have that attitude, then you're absolutely right. You can leave now, save yourself some time, but if you can make a few small changes, a little at a time, you can free yourself from being a wage slave. Concentrate your focus and take daily action to improve your savings rate. Simple, small changes daily will compound and your savings rate will improve dramatically. Anything you focus on a consistent basis, 100% of yourself into, you will improve. The issue you've probably had up until this point is negative thoughts about money, like the rich keep getting richer, or I'll never be able to have wealth, I'm always gonna live paycheck to paycheck in the rat race, I can never save that much, whatever it is. If those are the types of thoughts that you have, then you'll get those results. Whatever we focus on consistently, we tend to manifest, whether it's good or bad. When someone lifts weights or runs a marathon, they don't immediately start lifting 300 pounds or running 26 miles. They get started, consistently focus on it, and work their way up. It's the same thing with your savings rate. Maybe you can start with 5%, maybe work your way up to 10 or 20%. Maybe you'll have some momentum and figure out how to get it over 50 or 60%, maybe even higher. The key is getting started and trying to improve a little at a time. What's the worst thing that can happen if you try? You'll end up with more money, that's what. So to increase your savings rate, you need to do what? That's right, you need to either cut your expenses or make more money, or both. So how do you do that? Now you're asking the right questions. To reduce your expenses, you need to know what they are. So you need to start tracking your money. There's two great tools out there, Mint and Personal Capital. They hook up to your bank accounts and automatically aggregate everything together and show you where all your money goes. I personally use Mint, but I've heard good things about both. The fire bloggers would probably tell you to use Personal Capital because they get affiliate commissions. But I don't care which one you use, just use something to track your expenses. How many people live paycheck to paycheck? A lot, yet some people earn more than others. It seems that our living expenses increase to equal all of our income. Don't confuse your necessary expenses with your desires. To keep this at a high-level overview, I'm not going to go into specific detail about how specifically to save money, but I'll give you a few hints. After you review your expenses using either Mint or Personal Capital, you can drill down into drastic changes like transportation and housing, or maybe you'll be shocked at how much you waste on eating out, drinking, shopping, or something else you might not have even realized. If you want help on specific ways to save money, either become a member of our ELI 5 FI community, and you'll have unlimited access to some really great content, link in the description below. Otherwise, everything else you need to know is going to be laid out in the next few minutes. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. So, on to budgets. Do you need one? Well, that depends on whether or not you're already using a budget and if you like it. I think budgets are kind of like diets. You might be able to stick to it for a while, but eventually it's not sustainable for a lot of people. Some people do just fine, and some might even prefer it, but people like me hate them. What's a better solution? Well, let's assume you've used Personal Capital or Mint, and you figured out just how much of your expenses you can cut. Now you can start paying yourself first before you pay any of your bills. So the money you've identified as being able to save, you just set it aside, almost as if you never got it. You'll be surprised at how much you might not even feel like you're spending less. Give it a shot. Try to see if you can start saving 5 or 10%. You're focusing on your savings rate. So the next logical step is to think about whether it's possible to increase your income somehow. Maybe you can get a promotion. Maybe you can do side work or have a side business. Maybe you can get a new job at your same company or a different company. You can try to make your own promotion by polishing up your resume and applying for a higher level position at a different place. Whatever you do, don't quit your job to try to start a business full-time. Don't fantasize about starting the next Facebook or Google. Stick to what you know and think of ways you can earn more money right now with your existing skills. They could be work-related skills or even hobby skills you have. Maybe you can teach guitar or something in your spare time. There are so many ways you can increase your income, and if you need help with additional ideas, now might be a good time to subscribe and click that little bell in the corner so that you can be notified. Plus, it would be super helpful if you click that like button. It doesn't cost you anything to like and subscribe, but it would be really helpful for me, especially since this is my first YouTube video. I love the topic of increasing income. The FIRE bloggers are all about decreasing expenses, sometimes to the point of being too miserly. But increasing income is sometimes more possible than you think, and it goes a long way in helping you with your savings rate. Once you start increasing your savings rate and you have a little bit of money set aside, you need to find a place to put it. But before you start investing, you need an emergency fund. So what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is an account with money set aside to cover large, unexpected expenses like unforeseen medical expenses, home and appliance repair or replacement, car repairs, and most of all, unemployment. Emergency funds are the first level of financial independence. They create a buffer, a financial buffer, that can keep you afloat without needing to rely on credit cards or other high-interest loans in case of an emergency. If you have debt, it could help you avoid borrowing even more. So how much of an emergency fund do you need, and where should you put it? You should save between 3 to 6 months of necessary living expenses, depending on your level of comfort. You don't want too much money in here because your money is going to be able to make more money when you invest it. But you do need to set aside enough to realistically cover an emergency. Try to save a month's worth of expenses before you start investing. Then you can keep slowly adding to it until you get 3 months or 6, whatever helps you sleep at night. Open a separate high-yield savings account, HYSA, and keep it separate from the account you pay your bills from. At least the money will be earning some sort of interest. There's some advanced techniques like staggered certificates of deposit, CDs, that we cover in our community, but the simplest way to start is with a high-yield savings account. Now that you have an emergency fund in place and you have control over your savings rate by reducing your expenses and increasing your income, you have no excuse to rack up any more debt. So what do you do if you have pre-existing debt? The specifics of managing debt is a bit out of the scope of this video, and it can take up entire series of videos, which I'll get to. But the first step is to make a repayment plan. If you're using Mint or Personal Capital, you'll have a good idea just how much debt you have in total. There's 2 popular methods to paying off debt: the debt avalanche method and the debt snowball method. The debt avalanche method involves making minimum payments on all debt, then using any remaining money to pay off the highest interest debt. The debt snowball method involves making minimum payments on all debt and paying off the smallest debts first to get them out of the way before moving on to the bigger ones. Mathematically, the debt avalanche method should save you the most money, but the debt snowball method appeals to psychology and behavior. It doesn't really matter which method you choose, as long as you decide with determination to pay off your debts no matter what. You can and should be investing at the same time as you're paying off debt. Mathematically, paying off debt with a high interest would be more beneficial than average investment returns, but again, psychology and conditioning play a big role here. Getting into the habit of investing is very important, even if it's just a small amount to start with. Don't worry about getting the ratio or numbers of debt repayment versus investing perfect. Just get started, and you can optimize everything else along the way. So what's the best way to invest your money so it can grow safely and easily? The first place to start is with your tax-advantaged accounts. Things like 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and so forth. Find out what your employer offers, if anything, and get started with that. If you're self-employed, look into solo 401ks and SEP IRAs. Find out if your employer offers a match. This is free money, and you're missing out if you don't take it. At the very least, you should invest enough to get the full match, then try to work your way up to maxing it out. Most of these plans have pretty good investments in what's called target date funds or other types of index funds. These are pretty good investments, and the fees are okay. Once you join our community and become an expert, you should be able to save a little bit of money on expense ratios by choosing funds with lower costs. Once you max out your tax-advantaged accounts, you'll need to set up a brokerage account with a place like Vanguard or Fidelity. Financial experts like myself and legendary investor Warren Buffett recommend index funds. What's an index fund? Well, that's a great question. We cover that in depth in the community, but here's a quick overview. An index fund is a portfolio of stocks or bonds that mimic the composition and performance of a financial market index. In other words, you can own an almost exact replica of something like the S&P 500, where you own over 500 of some of the biggest public companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, and a whole bunch more. Indexing gives you a nice risk reward. It's low cost and it's passive, meaning you don't have to research individual stocks and get too deep into the trenches. All you have to do is set it and forget it. We go through in detail in the community. Otherwise, you can just research it a bit more yourself. Tax advantage accounts are great because of the tax savings. Your investments in these plans will reduce your gross taxable income, which basically means you're able to invest money before it gets taxed. The IRS sets a limit on how much you can contribute annually, so check with your employer and tax professional for more info. Yeah, but Rob, I thought I was trying to retire early. Don't I have to wait till I'm 60 years old to access the money? No, you have some options. Number one, you can pay a 10% early withdrawal penalty, which you should try to obviously avoid if you can. Number two, you can do what's called the 72T, substantially equal periodic payments, SEPP. I don't recommend this because of its complexity, but it's worth pointing it out as an option. Finally, you can do what's called a Roth conversion ladder. In a Roth conversion ladder, you take all of your tax-advantaged accounts and transfer them to a plain old traditional IRA. Then you take a chunk of that money, enough for a year of living expenses, and convert that to a Roth IRA, wait 5 years, and voila, you can withdraw that money without the 10% early withdrawal penalty. While you're waiting the 5 years, you need to be doing conversions every year to fund years 6, 7, 8, 9, etc., until you get to 59 and a half years old. Keep in mind that each conversion is taxable. Now, I know that's quite a bit to digest, so let's look at a hypothetical real-world example of everything you learned so far. Let's say Reggie is 40 years old and he's been saving and investing aggressively for the past 10 years. Reggie used to make $50,000 a year, but through raises, promotions, and a bit of job hopping, he now earns $75,000 a year. Reggie diligently kept his expenses low, especially after he increased his income. He even right-sized his house and car. In other words, he downsized them to something that still fits his basic needs. So for the past 10 years, he's been saving on average about $39,000 a year, including about $19,000 through his 401k. Oh, plus his employer gives him a 3% match, so make that about $41,250 he's saving a year, which means over the past 10 years, he bought about $412,500 in securities. But wait, there's so much more to the story. Since Reggie was investing in low-cost mutual index funds, his money was hard at work the whole time. So every month, Reggie's investments were automatically purchased, and he didn't even have to think about it most of the time because he got his direct deposit every 2 weeks in his bank account, and his investments were all automated. His employer deducted the money from his paycheck automatically, and the securities were all bought and managed for him. But because Reggie was maxing out his retirement accounts, he also had to figure out where to invest the remainder. Luckily, he's a member of the ELI 5 FI community, so he learned how to set up a brokerage account at Fidelity, picked an S&P 500 index fund, and set it up to automatically withdraw the money and purchase the index funds on every payday. Every other week, he got paid, but he didn't feel like anything was missing. But he was actually investing the whole time. These investments were producing a return, and those returns were reinvested, and it kept growing and growing like a snowball. Here's a handy calculator that you can use to see how much your money can grow over time. It's from the United States SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, so hopefully you can trust it. So Reggie invested $3,437.50 his first month, and every month thereafter for 10 years. Since the S&P 500 has averaged about 9.8% as an average over its lifespan, and over most 10-year periods, we'll use that and we'll give it a 2% variance up or down, just in case. Over $700,000. Reggie said he's had it at his current job, and he's already accustomed to living on $2,000 per month. His over $700,000 portfolio at a 4% safe withdrawal rate will actually provide him over $2,300 per month. But wait, half of Reggie's money is tied up in his 401k, and he doesn't want to take the 10% penalty, so he needs to do a series of Roth conversion ladders. In his first year of early retirement, he won't have any income from working, so he decides it's a great time to start doing the conversions since they're taxable. He's 40, and he won't be able to access his 401k penalty-free until he's 59 and a half, so he needs to do a few conversions. He does the first one for $28,000, then he does another one the next year, and every year he keeps doing one until he's 59 and a half. He can't touch the first conversion for 5 years, otherwise he'll get that penalty. But the good news is that doing one every year will ensure an income every year after that. For the first 5 years, he'll need to withdraw from his after-tax brokerage account. He needs about $140,000 from there, but he has over $350,000 in that account, so he's good. Reggie spent the last 20 years hustling and working hard, so after a few short months of taking it easy, he realizes he can't just sit still, and he yearns for something more. He didn't like the rat race, but he's still in his prime earning years, so he decides to do consulting or opens a passion project business without the need to worry about paying his bills. Reggie is financially independent. He may or may not be retired early, but work is optional for him. Obviously, Reggie's numbers are not the same as yours. You might make more or less, but the concepts are all the same regardless. That's it. So let's recap. You just learned what the so-called FIRE community is all about and how their focus on reducing your personal expenses can help rein in your spending and start investing to grow your money. These FIRE people miss a big part of the equation by dismissing the notion of increasing your income, which through raises, promotions, changing jobs, or starting a business is entirely possible. You don't need to start a side hustle, but if you have the desire, you can increase your income by selling your products or services on the side while you're still working. If you become a member of the community, you'll learn what to avoid and how to start increasing your income. You've also learned the reality of how a few small sacrifices now can result in cutting the number of years you need to work. It all really boils down to earning as much as you can, saving more money, and putting your money to work so it can grow on its own. Most people know they should live below their means, but sometimes they need a little guidance and mentorship to accomplish certain things. If you're committed to achieving financial independence, then join our ELI 5 FI community. If you're on the fence, just subscribe to this channel and keep watching the free content. Also, please rewatch this free Financial Independence 101 video as many times as you want, which gives you all the info you need to get started in your journey to financial freedom. You need to start now and take action. Try to make more money if you can. Stop wasting your money on things that aren't necessary. Save up an emergency fund so you can enjoy the first level of financial independence and not have to rely on borrowing money ever again. Start investing. Contribute to your 401k or IRA. Open a brokerage account with Fidelity or Vanguard. Choose an index fund and automate your finances to invest automatically every time you get a paycheck. You probably won't even feel like you have less money. Don't make excuses. Don't worry about being perfect. Just go out and do it. Also, the other thing you should just do is subscribe and click that like button. Thanks for watching. I wish you all the health, wealth, and happiness in the world.